Back with Adam Jones this morning from ECR. Adam, morning.
Good morning, Andrew.
Good to speak, Adam. Look, some welcome news flow this week out of Queensland and Victoria, plus good to see some strength back in the share price. Just firstly, Lolworth, some initial interpretations done here on PXRF analysis for the first batch of samples. Just tell us firstly a little bit about where these samples are from.
So the highest sort of anomalous area of the niobium tantalum, the ridgeline, so to speak, what we've been talking about over the last couple of Lolworth related RNSs. A lot of the streams leading from this ridgeline, it's intermittent, but there's up to 10 Ks on strike with different streams coming off of this ridgeline that are carrying very highly anomalous niobium, especially. So during last month, we decided to just do a straight first pass soil grid over the main drainage channel that's which came back with which has the highest stream set sampling results, and also that included a few rock chips from there too. But obviously, since having these new updated soil results, we'll have to revisit the area and do some further rock chips. But yeah, it's a 100-meter by 50-meter grid. That's roughly probably over 4 square Ks at least, I think it was. Looking at the maps, so the viewer can see the maps and the locations if they look at the ECR website and look at the RNS. So that's where the soils have been taken. And then we, about 2 weeks ago, we've just zapped them all with our in-house XRF. Because niobium's a heavy mineral, it picks up very well with the XRF gun. So it's just a sort of a quick and cheap method to essentially narrow down the niobium target. Because we're doing 100 meters apart and 50-meter apart spacings, it's pretty broad, and we want to get a little bit more narrow than that.
So you narrow down the samples and then send them off to the labs for analysis, do you?
Yeah, that's correct. So at the moment, we've just plan to do some narrowed down soil grid on the main areas as we've announced, and and those will be sort of backed up at the lab just to verify, to make sure that we're on track there. In-house sort of standards and testing of the XRF gun, it's pretty good just for niobium anyway.
Just remind us, what are the key minerals we're going after at Lolworth?
So Lolworth is, we originally went there for the gold, and, but we did multi-element testing on all the streams in the whole drainage area there. And just because of the geology there, it's just, and now with the recognition, in the last 5-10 years, especially with critical minerals, the geology in Lolworth is very suited to potential, critical minerals. And so, from our initial exploration last year, so we've just found not only gold in the streams, but also niobium and tantalum, which quite often go together. And then on top of that, we're actually getting quite good anomalous rare earth trends as well in the creek. So it's gold, niobium, tantalum, and rare earth is our main target. Our multi-elements at the moment are not really showing anything else at the moment of significance, but the tenement's 1,000 square kilometers squared, so it's quite a big area. And but the drain, the way we're doing the sampling with the streams is we're narrowing down a lot of that mountain range very quickly.
And so, Adam, in terms of follow-up here, you're looking to do some additional soil sampling and take some rock chips?
We've got about 140 or so rock chips in the lab at the moment, and I can confirm they're being processed right now as we speak. So hopefully, 2 or 3 week turnaround we're expecting. And at least half of those rock chips are targeting the niobium tantalum sort of pegmatites. And I have to say though to the viewer that since the additional information from the soil sampling, there's probably going to have to be more rock chips done just to cover some other areas that we haven't rock chipped yet. And then the other rock chips we've got in the lab right now are related to sort of more the gold side of the story of Lolworth.
As the work programs at Lolworth, as they advance, Are these results, and as things pan out, is it meeting your expectations?
Well, I've been up there for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and or last month actually, I've been up this way, and yeah, I ended up one of the things I found out is that from all the sampling we've done is that yeah, we're narrowing them down, but I was originally planning a lot of these stream seds and all these sort of soil programs from a computer essentially, but now I've had more of a walk around myself on the ground. You know, there's a lot more refinement to do, and that's what we actually are doing right now. So we're refining up a lot of those previous anomalous stream sets. That's with the gold and the novium and tantalum. So we're sampling all those um, sort of critical minerals and the gold at the same time. So we're not doing one or the other. We're sort of trying to do the best anomalous areas at the moment as we can. My target is I'm hoping to at least start having some drill targets set out. Hopefully, maybe I'm shooting myself in the foot here, but I'm hoping by January or something like that, I'll have some pretty good ideas where to have some drill targets set up. And that's just going to come about by just narrowing down the soil sampling and following up the streams right up to the headwaters of the ridge lines and the valleys, and and that's what we're doing right now. So,
And Adam, just sticking with Queensland, remind our viewers about the upcoming activities and the plan of attack for the Hurricane project.
Yep. So we've announced last week we had the LiDAR, or the processing of the LiDAR survey we had done. And that's just revealed so much information with the outcrops that, the terrain's pretty wild up there, and it's just going to save so much time on having targets to walk to and rock chip. And so that's what we're going to be doing next is, I'll be going back out to the Hurricane area sort of mid-August, 10th of August, somewhere around there. I'm penciled in, and and I'll be looking at some of these potential additional targets and outcrops, and but also on top of that, I'll do some additional rock chips on the previous company's rock chips, just to verify and to find more drilling targets. Like last week when we announced with the LiDAR data, one of the things I did a couple of weeks ago when I was out at Hurricane was to look at access for drilling and stuff like that. And there's a little bit of work there to do, but we're up and running with that, and we're pushed through with a few plans there. And it's just more trying to fit it in before the weather warms up and the rain sets in.
So expecting boots back on the ground at Hurricane in the next couple of weeks, Adam. I suppose a little bit of unexpected news flow from you this week from Creswick in Victoria. Further gold results here from some soil sampling. Just remind us a little bit about the ambition of this piece of work.
We spent a lot of time in exploring in Victoria over the last year and a half. And they're assets. They're still assets that are worth something. They're not forgotten about. We've actually got to fit in some due diligence and also meet legislative requirements with the government to keep those tenements. And so that requires a minimum of expenditure, which for a lot of the Victorian tenements, it's roughly $30,000 a year, Australian dollars. So 15,000 quid or whatever. And so we're sort of in the background, just have these bits of soils and soil sampling and all these other sort of just basic stuff still coming in, just to keep ticking along with defining potential drill targets in the future for Creswick if the need arises to go back there. The reason, the main reason for the board's decision to not actually keep consistently drilling at Creswick at this point in time anyway, and focus on Hurricane especially, it's essentially just a bang for your buck. You want to try and get a resource pretty quickly in the ground. I still feel there's good potential at Creswick, but the risk at Creswick is higher to define a resource than Hurricane. So doing this boots on ground exploration of soil samples, defining ore shoots. Yeah, that's yeah, that's sort of still ongoing a little bit in the background, but it's sort of low key. You know, there's little bits of information they're still floating in from the Victorian operations, and yeah, it's just still good news. And I think it's something to keep the shareholders as a, you know, there's assets out there too that are worth something in the back, and we'll take them.
So given the geology in Queensland, you're much more confident of being able to establish a resource here.
The geology fits, it's different. It's not so much, you know, narrow vein as such. Having said that, you know, there is narrow veins in Queensland, but the chances of finding other styles of mineralization that are more amenable to, you know, more consistent results, more consistent drill results, that is as well. You know, just Queensland's, I think Queensland's just a lower risk, so to speak, from a, and especially at this critical time in the market when, you know, funding is, you know, you know, times are hard for people, so obviously the money's a bit tighter for people to invest and have that thrift to invest in such things. So we want to try and make sure that, you know, the current cash reserves and that are getting more bang for our buck, and yeah, and hopefully building that share price up and the value.
Well, Adam, you did say, but just to summarise, remind us upcoming news flow. What can we expect out of Lolworth in Queensland?
Yep. So the rock chips, as mentioned, they're currently being processed in the lab. In about 3 weeks' time, I reckon we should have an RNS detailing about the progress on those rock chips. I mean, or the results of those rock chips, and you know, and then on top of that too, we should have that will be backed up actually over as field work in Lolworth is currently continuing right now. So you know, there's always going to be stream sets and more rock chips just, you know, being dropped off at the lab, and so there'll be a steady flow throughout the year of that. And then you know, sampling at Hurricane will be in sort of August, mid-August, and those will be in the lab as well before the end of August. And so I'm expecting September sometime, maybe mid-September, we should have those rock chip results, and I'm quite excited about that. You know, the just referring back to commodities, was speaking of Lolworth before, but you know, with Hurricane in particular, it's gold, but also there's antimony there, which is becoming highly sought after. So I'm quite excited about to see what other minerals are as well are at Hurricane, you know.
Certainly good to see a ramp up in activity and news flow. Adam, good to get an update from you. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Andrew.